I'm so excited to have Elliott join us, CI manager with Frost Brown Todd and former co-chair of the CI SIG. Ashley, I know you've been in legal marketing, mostly heavily in CI, since 2006, and you've launched CI functions at several law firms. Walk us through those steps in your career and how it impacted the type of CI program you've launched at those firms.
Yep, absolutely. Thanks for having me, Rachel. Good to be here. So I've been in legal for quite a while, and not to date myself, but I started in 2006, coming up on 20 years in legal. Let's rewind back to when I first started at McGuire Woods. Eager and bright-eyed. I started out really as a marketing coordinator, hired to do manual research that nobody wanted to do because I'm into that kind of thing. To do research back then, pre a lot of the tools and resources that we have now, I was coming through dockets. I was looking under every rock, going down the hall, talking to people, asking questions. It was a lot more of a get out and find it scenario. And just sensing a lot of inefficiencies, I decided, okay, there's got to be a better way. That this cannot go on because coming through a public company's dockets over the past 5 years would take way outside of the sales cycle, a 2-week sales cycle, to figure out the information that you needed to know, pass it on to who needed to have it, and for them to be able to do anything relevant with it. This was back in the day of Advantage reports, pre-Monitor Suite. I was one person show, running those reports, sending those, providing high level analysis on who are the law firms use, what's the volume look like, trends and increase and decrease of practice areas. And just over time, I was running those reports, but also creating templates of information that I was able to get regularly from the sources that I had available. I created some really rough templates and got lots of feedback from business development managers, including Nancy Sidnor, who is former PwC and doing competitive intelligence in the early days. She had great feedback for me, which I actively used. So at that time, McGuire Woods is really needing a lot of research that was really based around pitches. So an RFP comes in and they want to know about the company and what the opportunities look like. I would go in and kind of figure out what those opportunities were and put them together in a systematic way, and a usable kind of format, and pass those through to the attorneys and business development managers. And that those requests evolved. They changed based on what the different business development exercise was, and I was constantly providing research on the front end of those efforts to make sure that the business development strategy was most effective. Then, after about 7 years at McGuire Woods, I moved on into a business development manager role at one AmLaw 100 firm and a smaller regional Carolinas firm. And after those 5 years and coming back into CI, to another AmLaw 50 firm and starting up that function, I really noticed that the need for long, detailed, text-heavy reports had gone. People were no longer interested in reading a long report. We work at a law firm, time is money. Partners who are busy do not want to read a 20-page report. They don't have time for that. So then we really pivoted. I had a very talented graphic focused analyst on the team that I went to at that firm. And she really inspired me to look at, how I'm presenting this information. We need more charts. We need more colors. We need bigger text. We need the analytics pulled out much more heavily, less reading, more quick glance reports. So at that firm, I kind of approached it differently with 7 years of trial and error under my belt. I kind of came in with a really different view of what needed to be done. So in that effort, I ended up, still with the templates, but much more visual, shorter. Sometimes, it wouldn't even be a template report. Sometimes it would be a phone call. Sometimes it would be 5 or 6 bullet points in an email. It was constantly thinking about information strategy, how to deliver that information in a way that it's going to be best received, and how the recipient wants it. Some you work with people, you start to understand their work style. Some people are going to read the report, they're going to come back with questions and want you to dig deeper. Some people won't read it. And so you really have to understand, how they're going to absorb and read the information that you give. So if you've got I don't read emails or I don't read like long documents person, always do the follow-up, always reach back out, always say, let me talk you through what I found and why it's important and what to do next. So we really took that approach at that firm, and then also was very lucky to have a team. So we were able to drop in specialties. At that team, that I had a former corporate paralegal who was great at corporate research, former librarian who was proficient in Westlaw, great with litigation requests. And then I had a super, super competent quantitative analyst who was outside of legal but came in and could help with the more quantitative projects. So just really looking at what tools and people and skills you have available, I think that really helps decide how to shape your CI program at your firm. So that's an important first step. So when I started at Frost Brown Todd or FBT about a year and a half ago, there was no CI function. So I'm thinking, cool, like this is a great opportunity to start from the ground up, take my years of experience and say, what would I do if I could? And so, and also if, that knowledge and that background that I have could kind of translate into what does this firm need? This is a national law firm, but focus heavily in the Midwest. No CI team, a lot of great data already queued up for me. Cindy Bear is here and she's over the data team and she's done a lot of excellent work with getting foundation up and running in record short time using Latera Dragon. She's done a lot to really queue up some excellent Power BI dashboards in multiple different functions. So I got to kind of walk up and use all this great data, put structure around it, launch it, and then really be a lot more focused on with the strategy setters of the firm. So CI here was rolled out in a closer alignment with firm leaders and those that are talking about and defining strategy. So I've worked much more closely with practice group leaders, industry team leaders, our chiefs, executive committee, and senior BD leaders. And I'm much more focused on firm growth efforts at the firm level, less on pitch research. That is still part of CI. I think it always should be to some extent, but maybe not always the focus depending on, what your firm is trying to accomplish.
That's great. Thanks so much for sharing all of that, Ashley. So, what would you tell someone who's starting out in CI or building a new function from the ground up? What advice would you give to them?
I have a lot of advice, usually unsolicited, but since you asked, I have about 5 things that I would say are good starting points and things that I did do also at Frost Brown Todd. Assess the goals and the needs of the firm. So, do they really just mostly need pitch research? Are they looking for off-the-shelf reports? Do they need, target lists? Ask your senior BD folks and the leaders within the different functional groups what they think is most needed. And then I would work to build relationships internally with people who know the most about the firm, how it works, and where all the data lives. You're going to need all the data. And so it's good to be friends with folks in the library, folks in finance, IT, and just really figure out who those personalities are at your firm and start having conversations about what they know and what they have access to. Show and tell on Teams is highly recommended just so you can see what they're seeing and pull out things that are relevant that they might not notice. And then also you want to get with your library or whoever keeps the contracts and the tools and resources at your firm. Figure out what they have and figure out what you can have, what there's available licenses for, and get trained actively. Go meet with your vendors, figure out what other firms use within that tool, and just keep that dialogue constantly flowing. And then as I did in the early days at McGuire Woods, I'm reaching for who knows anything about, data information in this space. So be friends with your vendors as well. Get to know what tools they maintain and what information is available there, what new updates there are, get any training that you can have and that your schedule allows. And then lastly, and probably most importantly, stay curious, keep learning. You want to know what's going on within your firm, what's going on within the industry. And I think this is often why CI is difficult to pin down and to define, is because CI practitioners should really be shapeshifters. We should be the ones learning what's new and what's happening first, and evolve your program to really suit what's going on within the legal market, the industry, and then the needs of your firm.
That's great. So much wonderful advice packed in just a few minutes. Thanks so much for joining us today, Ashley, and for sharing all of this with our audience.
Thank you. Thanks for having me.